followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by the mayor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm here, Mr. Carrick. Mr. Karafinsky is not here. Mr. Learn. Here. Mr. Mokia. Here. Ms. Troyani. She's on her way. So, Ms. Wozniak. Here. Mayor Burke.
Here.
Borough Manager.
Here.
Chief of Police.
Here.
Solicitor is not here. Engineer is not here. DPW Foreman.
Here.
Reporter.
Are you the leading?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm filling in for Sue today.
Okay. Fire Chief.
Here.
And Code Enforcement. No. Okay. All right. Current agenda, review and approve. You've all had a chance to browse through it.
So just really quick here on consent agenda, item J. I'm going to ask that we add a with correction at the end of that statement, with the correction being on the very first paragraph, the first whereas. It says is south of Canal Street and south of north of lands. It should just say north of, so I'd be removing that south of from the advertised ordinance. So I just ask that this, the language in the agenda say with noted correction.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as action.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Mr. Learn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Okay. Presentation, Ms. Osterman, Cedar Cog.
Good evening. Nice to see everyone. So tonight's public hearing is an opportunity for the public to discuss and offer input on the borough's consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, or CAPER as it's better known, for the 2024 program year, which ran October 1st, 2024 through September 30th of this year, 2025. And because it's December 1st and I'm in the holiday spirit, I'm gonna do a little something different tonight. So
Sing your report.
bear with me.
You're gonna
Not too
hand out
long
gifts
ago.
too? I mean,
Not too long ago, I think I complained about coming here on a pretty regular basis, and not having very interesting or exciting information to share with you. And I think Mr. Lewis, you said, you would challenge me to find a fun or interesting way to present the information. So challenge was accepted, and it took me a while to come up with something, but here we go. It was 24 nights before Christmas, and all through City Hall, the Borough of Berwick had gathered us all. The keeper was ready, the reports in a row, to share what was done in the year we now know. The CDBG program had guided our way with plans and performance for HUD to survey. Affordable housing, community development too, building strong neighborhoods for me and for you. 17 days to your comments to share, till December the 14th will welcome your care. Since November 28th, the keeper's been on view at City Hall and online, easy for you. Projects completed, we're proud to recite. Washington Street's work was finished just right. Light was removed in phase 4 with great cheer, and Sponsor Park's ribbon was cut in November this year. So speak up tonight, let your voices be bright. Your input will help us with our goals in our sight. By December 24th, to HUD it will go, with thanks to our neighbors who helped make it so. And Santa himself, with his list checked twice, said Berwick's on track. Now isn't that nice? With streets and parks shining and blight out of sight, Merry Caper to all, and to all a good night. I will now take any questions or comments from the public or from the council.
That was awesome.
I had fun with it, I hope you did as well. Any comments, questions at all? Okay.
And just in case that did not come through clearly with the, whatever, the poem, the paper will be available for public inspection through the 14th.
Through the 14th.
Different way to start. Hey, Mayor, maybe you're gonna try topping that?
I don't know that can be topped, Chief. That's a lot of wood to chop right there.
We have 14 days for the mayor's report, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what you come up with.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, you can't do Santa either.
Boy,
It's already been done. She did
You
it.
can wear on my hat.
I've got my own.
I have a
Okay,
Grinch mask you could
Just going.
you can keep your Grinch.
Okay,
I go the opposite end of that spectrum.
fair enough.
All right, no more convincing. All right, item 5, citizens' correspondence, personal appeals, agenda items. Does anybody have anything they want to address us about that is currently on the agenda? Sure.
Do I need to go there, or can I just now?
I'll go there. There's a lot of people, so they can
Okay.
hear you.
I was just wondering, with the situation that's going on in my neighborhood, the one about, I'll find it again. Approved the advertising ordinance adopting the 21 International Property Maintenance Code. What does that mean? What, is that gonna mean something to me about mobile home parks, or is this something in general that's gonna happen within the borough?
So the International Property Maintenance Code is what we, it's a, rather than us trying to write our own code for every single possible piece of property maintenance, the property maintenance code exists that we adopt with some amendments to align with us. So we are moving from 2018 to 2021 to align with the state and uniform construction code. So Pennsylvania just moved to the 2021 uniform construction code. We historically have updated our version of the International Property Maintenance Code to align with that. Generally speaking, you're not gonna see much of a difference. There's not an awful lot that changes in the world of property maintenance. So, you know, it's an ongoing effort to continue to address certain folks who, make it difficult for us to, keep property tidy. There are a few things that we're trying to do in this to make our lives a little bit easier. One of the big ones being, change up some language to allow us to cite repeatedly easier for people who just refuse to address a problem. Right now, based on the current language that we have, it requires a letter, a certified letter every time. We're trying to change this up to essentially say that if you're violating the same thing over and over and over again, one formal notification is enough for you to know what the issue is, and let us continue to attack problem areas a little bit easier. Whether that will ultimately pass muster, we don't know until we try, but that is one thing. So, yeah.
Well, that'd be one thing I was interested in, because I mentioned that at the last meeting, yeah.
That's
If the state comes out with a set of do's and don'ts, then council can somewhat override some of them
So
to make it more specific or more stricter for our area or
So
for our
the
borough.
International Property Maintenance Code is not a state law. It's just, it's an existing set of code. So as long as any amendments that we make to that code don't directly counter state law, in theory, we can make some tweaks to it. But then at the end of the day, if someone were to challenge one of those tweaks, it would be up to a court to decide whether or not we were actually legally able to make that amendment. But that is one thing that we are, assuming council votes to advertise and move for that ordinance, we are trying to do.
And the downside of that is it's tax money because you're paying for an attorney,
I mean, if someone,
So
it depends how far someone's willing to push it too. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
if it goes to the district magistrate on the very first try, she says, yeah, no, you can't do that, there's really not any real downside to that. If somehow it were to end up in, say, the state Supreme Court, hope it doesn't do that, sure, but the council would have to decide at that point whether they actually wanted to fight something that far. I'm not imagining
Okay,
anything like
yeah,
that, though.
I'm just curious what that could be affecting across the street from me at all, or future mobile home parks that people buy, or whatever whatever they do to it. Yeah, and on the new business, under one grant and temporary zoning, you know, what I heard at the last meeting, they said, no, that they wanna do it because they could've gotten in trouble last year, and now this year, look, looks like you're doing it. 7 months they went and did absolutely nothing, nobody cared, and now they care because it's cold. Yous all knew it, 7 months was coming, I knew 7 months was coming. So was it bad last year? And this year it don't make a difference, or do we just go back out and do something that we said last meeting couldn't do? Just a comment.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? A lot of you folks here that aren't saying anything about anything on the agenda. Hi.
Tracy, I'd like to address what he brought up. Yes, I do understand, it was brought to the attention of the organizations that put on Code Blue last year. The proper channels needed to be addressed to operate a Code Blue. Like I stated at the meeting last year, or last month, we weren't aware of that circumstance. We're not a part of that organization. The minute we found out that there was not any steps taken, we jumped into action to make this happen for the community members in need this year and for our community in general. My point being to asking for the exception this year before the zoning hearing is simply because we are doing the steps that's required. The safety protocol is already met with codes, so it's not a liability on your end, which I respectfully agree that was a liability on your end, and I appreciate the opportunity that you gave us as a volunteer last year to do that. That's not where we're at this year. We've already been through the codes, so the safety issue is addressed. This year, we're looking at, because it's out of our hands, we're looking at snow again tomorrow. We're doing what we can on our half without stepping on your toes to help meet their needs in the meantime. But it would be much, much safer to have them be able to sleep off of the streets. Because right now, all we can do is offer them a warm, safe place to be at night and not even allow them to rest, which means they are sleeping during the day on public property out in the cold. And there is gonna be days before December 18th that the temperature is gonna be low freezing. And I would hate to see, I would hate to see a time when we face hypothermia with one of our community members because of that, when we have the ability to offer them a safer option.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, item 6, Bill.
So I live currently not too far from that location.
Name and.
Patrick Noss,
And address.
201 South Mercer.
Thank you.
What I know, I was speaking with Damien prior to this, that there is stipulations that zoning, in order for that change, is only to be put out 200 foot from the address set of where it's going to be.
So, and that's, just to be clear, what he's referring to is, when there's a zoning hearing, all properties within 200 feet of the property that's subject to the zoning hearing would receive a formal mailed notification of what that hearing is prior to the hearing. So before, the proposed code blue were to go through zoning, that postcard would go out. Obviously, we are not a zoning hearing, so a postcard has not gone out for that, just, that's what he's referring to.
My biggest thing is there's not much dwellings within 200 feet of that property, but there's dwellings down the road, there's dwellings down the other way from the road. If nobody even read the newspaper, which most people don't anymore, nobody would even know this was going on. So why is there nothing being spread farther down, especially when you're talking of bringing people into the area that aren't from the area that we don't feel safe with being on streets to begin with because of the circumstances, and I'm not saying that it's their own volition that they're on the streets because of this.
I'm not sure that we're bringing people into the area from out of the area.
There's people that don't live on that road that are coming in there that wander up
Yeah,
and
but-
down. We have neighbors that have had stuff stolen already from the area.
And we understand that, okay, but we're dealing with people who are here, whether not they're members of our community or not, they're living under the bridge or in the park or someplace else. And so, these people trying to do something.
I understand, and
to help
I'm all
us.
for
And
it.
I'm not in favor, not a favorite at this point, okay? But don't misrepresent it as bringing people in from outside.
I'm not saying to bring
They're
people in
that
from
are
out of the
they're
area.
people that are already here.
I understand that, but
Okay.
our biggest worry is that our personal property is being protected.
I understand that.
That is our biggest concern, and I know there's a couple people here, there's a lot of people that couldn't make it, but there was nothing ever brought to anybody's attention within anywhere close to the proximity of this property that this was going on.
And just to be clear too, like officially, this has been going on for, you turned in your application 2 weeks ago maybe, ish?
Yeah.
Right around the last council,
Three
right
weeks
before the last
ago.
council meeting, I
Yes,
think.
yes.
Cause otherwise, so, as far as why 200 feet, if I'm being honest with you, Patrick, somewhere along the way, that number was the
Oh, I know,
number.
it's, yeah,
So-
yeah, that's moot, but I mean, something of this caliber, I mean, it's not like they're just going from a zoning from a fire hall to a full-fledged bar or something like that, you know, you have a full functioning bar in there as well now as you're putting a warming shelter in there. I think that and also needs to play in the back of people's heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I speak one more time? I'd like to address his concern.
Briefly.
Just to address his concerns, one is that, like he stated himself, many people don't read the newspaper, and like he said, they wouldn't even know it's going on. We've had our community members there for almost 3 weeks now, and people don't even know. So the amount of problems we run into so far, knock on wood, none. That is our expectation with our rules, and our clients that come to us, they know that. They're not looking to bite the hand that feeds them, per se. They really genuinely do want the shelter to help them through this winter, or hopefully less of a winter. We are actively working with them. We actually housed somebody today. This is not something that's just like a spur of the moment thing. We've been actively doing this with our organization since we opened our nonprofit last March. So, other than that, to my understanding is, even if we would pass the emergent or the temporary today, that postcard will still be, am I correct, David, that'll still go out and they would still have
The only
opportunity
way
to
that
test it.
wouldn't go out is if council were to say it's not emergency for the 2 weeks or so, that it's a permanent, you're good to go, and make the count, which I do not anticipate that happening, but that would be the only thing that would make the postcards not go out, is if the actions of council were to
open
make
it for the
the
season.
hearing not necessary.
Correct.
But as long as the hearing was going to occur, then yes, those
Then our
postcards.
zoning hearing is still, yes, so our zoning hearing will still happen, and then again, you can contest it at that zoning hearing. So this is, our ask today is to cover the next few weeks until the zoning hearing. Thank you.
General comment? 60 seconds.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, and I don't have a good memory, I'm not the sharpest in the pack. But wasn't there 22 people last year living down at the test track along the river, but 55 staying in Code Blue? Where'd they come from? Good question. Where'd they come from?
We have multiple communities.
I mean, you hear people say, you bring them in from out of town, and other people say, no, we're not bringing them out of town, but I just sit there and I'm thinking, well, 22 and 55 is 33.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to-
Were there additional people living in town that wasn't along the track?
Numbers were never that high.
I was gonna say, I'm just curious as to where
Well,
you're getting
55
those.
is one that,
Okay,
the number
great, I'd like
I've
to
been
talk.
remembering, I'm not even sure if it was Press Enterprise, but
Okay, I don't know where you're getting those numbers.
they're accurate. I do know that if there's 22 people living down at the test track, that's
Yeah.
not the only place that unhoused people occupy in Berwick. So it is possible that there's other communities other than the ones living at the test track. So again, without concrete numbers, without gathering information, I don't know that that's accurate data.
And I think it's also worth reminding, it's not necessarily just individuals who are living on the streets who would be able to access a Code Blue. It's people who could be without heat, they could be living in a car somewhere, it could be, so just,
I don't know these answers.
I don't know that we're gonna
I
have a
just
perfect
know what
answer
I
for you either,
heard.
but it's not an
Yes.
apples to apples on how many people were staying at the test track, just how many people over the course of the winter may have had a reason to access Code Blue, and whatever that big number was, I believe that was how many, and I don't know if 55 was the right number, but I believe that high number was how many people spent at least one night there. I mean, there could have been instances where somebody stayed one night and never
Well,
came
that's a
back.
number for, and that number is what the number is. I get that, I get that.
May I answer this, the number part?
Sure, I'm gonna need a name and address.
I would.
Come on up front.
Frank Spade, 132 East First Street, Mifflinville. I was the guy that held the Code Blue. The numbers he's referring to are somewhat accurate. Here's the problem most people don't understand. When you're talking homeless, there's so many couch surfers in this town, it's not funny. Once you open a Code Blue shelter up, everyone that's housing these people pushes them out, saying now you have a place to go. And my thing with doing any type of shelter is where you need proper case management with funds to help rehouse people. So the numbers are really accurate, believe it or not. I am doing this now for a living, and I am dealing with numbers that are astronomical. And I deal with a lot of people from Borough. I'm not against them doing a Code Blue shelter either. So I'm just looking at the variance for special exemption, and I'm concerned about the case management behind it. My goal is always to see people stepping ahead and getting better.
From what my impression of his question was that he was implying that people were being brought in from outside of Berwick.
No.
So you can confirm that people are not being brought in from outside of the community, but they're unhoused people
Yes.
in Berwick. I
They're
think that
all
was the
over.
concern with that question, correct?
Yes, I said 2255, there are additional people in Berwick, I didn't know.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
didn't say that.
you have a lot of places in town that rent out, and there's a lot of people staying with people that are not on leases illegally. And we all know this, I mean, but that's where your numbers are coming from. And then once those people that are housing people have a place for them people to go, they say, there you go. And that's what'll happen, once you open a Code Blue shelter up, that's what's gonna happen again. I'm dealing with this now, I have people call me all the time, how do we help these people? How do we help, I need them out of my house, but they don't wanna throw them out. So it's a lot worse than anyone really realizes. Right?
Okay, thank you. What else? 21.
My name is Rob Boyer, 1132 Salem Boulevard. I am the president of CRC, the nonprofit that's trying to make this happen. I wanted to clarify a couple of things. First of all, what we're doing right now currently is an overnight soup kitchen. We're not letting them sleep in there or anything like that. And if we weren't approved at the zoning hearing, we're still allowed to do that. We're allowed to have them in the hall to do that. The hall was taken off premises, and it's also locked from the bar. Larry Grace had us put a lock on the door between the bar and the hall. We're compliant as far as LCE goes. The second thing, and it's not so much directed towards council, it's everybody in the room. And I'm not saying that anybody needs to hear this, but these are living, breathing human beings here. Regardless of the fact that somebody a block or two down the road got into somebody's stuff, it may not necessarily be a homeless person. And even if it was, should that be the reason that we don't allow them a place to sleep? The third thing, so far the amount of people that we have on the property, we've had no trouble at all with them, so I don't think they're gonna be a problem. I don't think it's gonna be any kind of issue, and if it was, the place is loaded with cameras, there's people watching operating them remotely, and I don't think there's gonna be any issues. Also, thank you for, your time in looking into this matter.
Can I say something quick?
Sure.
So my name's Brooke, I'm Judy Berwick. I understand that, people are worried about things getting stolen, whatever the case is. I just want everybody to know that last night I had 2 of our clients sleep at my house overnight. Nothing was broken, nothing went missing, everything was fine. They actually ended up doing my dishes, last night. So I mean, the clients aren't as bad as what maybe some people might think. So I just want you to know that I am comfortable with bringing them into my home. Not saying everybody here needs to feel that way. I just let everyone know that, they did come stay in my house. Everything was fine, no issues. They helped, they slept, and then they left by morning.
What did you get for your address? I'm sorry.
Iron Street. And most of the time, they also, bring me gifts, like my little crows, they're my friends. Just throw that out there.
Anyone else? Come on up, sir.
David Hiller, 306 East 11th Street in Berwick. And this might already be all taken care of, but my concerns would be, we can't let them freeze and die, no matter where we're at. To protect the neighborhood, is there a set of rules set down that when these people come in at night, they gotta stay in at night? Maybe go out and smoke their cigarettes, but stay on the premises,
Yes.
okay? That would be my biggest concern, to protect the neighborhoods. All right, I'm all for helping somebody and, helping them after the fact, get them off the streets. But we need a starting point, and, after it warms up in the spring, maybe keep this thing going so we can have some answers for next year. Cause there's gonna be more, there's gonna be a lot more, the way things are going. All right, that's all I have.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Monique Carmen, 316 East 11th Street, Berwick. I wasn't gonna talk, I really just wanna listen. This is my first time at a meeting like this. I'm in the process of moving back to Berwick. I grew up here, but I've been living in New York City and in New Jersey. I work with organizations, not currently, I work in a medical office, but for years I worked with organizations that basically what I did in New Jersey is I would go out and there's something called a point in time count, which it's one day in January where you go out into the woods and you go out into all these places. The reason the count, like you think that there's a lot less people is because, there's people in like abandoned like trucks. You know what I mean? They're everywhere. You don't know where all of them are. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's okay. There's people.
It's like, so this is what I did for a job. I helped people find housing. So I'd find people in the woods, find people in abandoned houses, get them into the program that I was working with. So in 2017, like a lot of people are saying, oh, why don't we just get grants and there's all this help. In 2017 in New Jersey and New York, pretty much all the grants that existed, for not all of them, but like the majority of them don't exist anymore. So that created a huge problem. But with the programs that I worked with, getting these people into one area, like say there's drug addiction or mental health issues, getting people together in one spot, like at a Code Blue shelter that Frank's been doing, is our opportunity to help lift them up so that they're not causing issues for people's property. You know what I mean? There is a way to help lift these people up. And I know it's not going next to my house, so I understand. But I've let homeless people shower. Homeless people in New York City, I've let them shower in my apartment. I've let them stay in my apartment. I know there's like a lot of people want to look at themselves or their immediate family, but like as a town, like it's nice. Like I miss Berwick because I liked the community feel. When you're in New Jersey, you don't really know a lot of people, but it's kind of crazy. Like in New Jersey and in New York, there's more help, and there's a lot of times more community than there is here. And you would think
Like, this is a Christian town that you would think would be more, for helping people, but there's so much pushback and it's kind of crazy. It's like common sense to lift the lowest among us so that we can all do well. Like, when you lift the lowest among us, that's how the whole town can do better. So we don't have people staying in tents. But we can't do that when they're all spread out. Every January I did a count in New Jersey. You have the places that people are hiding you would never know. There's so many areas that you would never know there's a homeless person there. And how I would find out these people, because you make friendships with other homeless people, and then they tell you about all these other little pockets that are hiding. We really have no idea. And then so many people are ashamed and afraid to even say anything. And then also, like, my grandfather who just spoke, he did like a heating and air conditioning company. There's been many times where he's gone out on his own time in the middle of the night to help get people's heat back on. What about people and families and mothers who their heat breaks down? They'll have a place to go. It's not just homeless people, it's not just drug addicts. I know like a lot of people are like, oh, these are problem people. That's not always the case. Even for myself, there's been points in my life where I've been homeless. Not when I lived in Berwick, but there's been other points. When you fall asleep in the cold, you don't even realize it. Like, I thankfully was in a car and in an abandoned house. When you fall asleep in the cold, you think you're bundled up. When you wake up, the amount of pain that you have, it's just not good for your body. So it's just shocking to me that like all of us who have homes are kind of like, oh, I gotta protect my home, but these people, like it's a simple, just a place to stay when it's freezing. But this is how we can get them together to actually lift them all up. Like I know Frank always talks about he doesn't want to just do handouts. He wants to help lift people up. We cannot lift people up when they're all spread out. It's impossible. This is the best way to like get our community together and like find out what the needs are of our community, and it's gonna get worse. The world is in a worse state, and we're lucky right now that we're not homeless, but we don't know which one of us are next.
Right.
You really don't know. One medical emergency, your husband or wife getting medical bills, you lose the amount of, so I also, I work in New York City right now. So every week there's a couple homeless communities that I go and meet with and I bring stuff to them. Kind of what other people were saying, I'll bring all of this stuff, I'll have so much stuff, and sometimes I'm upset with them that they don't want to take more. They literally only take what they need, and I found the most humanity within the homeless communities that I've worked with. It's insane. They'll only take what they need, even though they could just scrounge it all up. They don't. And then they'll take what they need for other people, and they all look after each other. That is where I find the most hope for our society and for humanity, is within the homeless community. And then a lot of times, like in Manhattan, everyone just wants to look away. You don't want to look at it. A lot of people don't want to look at this issue, but we have to, because it's growing and it's going to continue to grow. And I'm trying to move back. I'm in the process of moving back to Berwick, and it's sad. I'm like, do I want to be a part of a town that's we say we're this Christian great town, but then when things like this come up, so many people are so against it. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. I don't know. Sorry for talking so long. I wasn't even gonna talk at all, but.
Anyone else? We will move on. Business not ready for action. Conditional use.
So, in your packets that you got last week, I just wanted to make sure that you all did see and take notice of, at the next council meeting, there will be a conditional use hearing. I know you questioned me a few months ago for why this is, because in the zoning where it says written, there are a few very specific things that instead of going before the zoning hearing board, they go before council for what's called a conditional use hearing. Trailer parks are one of them. The other is a multi-family dwelling, that would be 3 families or more, that goes 3 or more stories. So we do have somebody who submitted a zoning hearing to build an apartment building that was gonna be 3 stories high, I believe 11 units. That needs to come before council for a conditional use hearing. We'll have that at the meeting on the 15th. Again, just wanted to make sure you all saw that you have that, and if you do have any questions, make sure you have a full 2 weeks to ask them. So that's all I have.
Okay, we'll go around the table. We'll start over with Mr. Coolbaugh, Fire Chief.
I don't really have anything right now. Very good. Just call. Anything for us? Any questions?
progress on getting rid of the old fire engine?
Got one individual that contacted last week, I've not heard back from the broker, they're supposed to be making arrangements sometime after the holiday, to come up and take a look at it. Till then, we're going to make arrangements, try with VIDA, and one of the buildings is empty over there, I gotta speak with Will, and we're probably gonna winterize the old one, and put it over there, so it's out of the way, so we have room for upcoming events. We'll make sure it's definitely winterized, no water in the pump and everything, so. But hopefully,
Okay.
other than that, I don't really have anything. We've been, while we were doing everybody's been out, we did barricades, from water for run for diamonds. I know some of our guys actually went out and walked it, to run for diamonds, and, Santa Parade was nice, had a good time, so, other than that, I don't have any, unless you have something for me.
No? Okay. All right, thank you. Tom?
I'll be the bad guy. I know there's a few people at this table, not me, there's a few. We like that Gabby's recording, making people informed what's going on. But I think she's gotten up twice already to arrange her camera. Can we somehow make her record from the back so she's not disrupting others?
So, to answer your question, I will be clear, I'm gonna give a general answer to recording, not any specific person. And I'm still waiting for final clarification on this, because you asked me this before. I believe that we would be able to have a designated recording zone. And that would be to make sure that no one else's vision would be impaired, and that when council would have to establish a policy that there was a designated space to record. This is a public meeting, of course, so the people have every right to record audio and video.
Which I understand.
So a reasonable, restriction on the location would probably be allowable as long as there's a policy that was enforced for all parties. You know, nothing can be done to target any one specific individual. You know, that would cover if we have television station in here as well, which doesn't happen often, but every so often we do get, and those cameras are certainly bigger. But yeah, so it would have to be a general, and it do not impact anyone's ability to be able to include the reporter's ability to see what was happening either. Taking this to the extreme example, it would not be allowed. You could not say recording had to happen from the hallway or from outside, of course, that it would have to be done in a way that they would effectively see and record as well.
That's all I got.
Okay. Teresa? Okay.
Have quite a few things police related on both the consent agenda and as new business. If anyone has any questions, of course, let me know. Be happy to answer everything.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'll stop you. The civil service.
Yes.
You know, I shared with you some civil service regulations from Quakertown Borough.
Yes.
Is there any if they're doing it in Quakertown and they're getting away with it?
I don't know how it's lawful. I mean, it is, again, specifically within the civil service code for, not just for our borough, for within Title 8 of the borough code, those things that are in there are no exceptions for lateral transfers. That might be one of those things where, well, they've kind of gotten away with it and no one said anything. It might be one of the more in line with, as long as nobody complains about it, it wouldn't be an issue. But like if you were to start, again, now they're specifically doing it for lateral hires, if you were to have 3 people on that lateral list kind of forego all of that testing and not hire one of them, that one guy might have a real legitimate right to make. I haven't put it to Frank. I reviewed it, and I'm not sure. So the changes that.
So that's retirement call. I mean, I see another retirement on there that I retired on.
Yes.
You know, see it black and white again. So.
Yeah. So well, I mean, as it sits right now, we are down 3 retirements, and we currently have 3 out on workers' comp. One of the very last other items will turn that into 4 actual retirements and 2 out on workers' comp.
You have your candidates, your cadets, whatever, which I'm all for that. But that's not gonna help us.
No, not in the here and now. Even by, you guys were to, which I strongly hope you do, vote to accept both those two, candidates to go to the academy, that's still at the earliest, one of them might actually be on the road by September. So that's why also on here again, I'm immediately requesting to enroll directly into another hiring process. Forgoing the cadet sponsorship this round, heavily pushed towards the entry-level laterals and part-timers, and we've discussed several things civil service-wise to streamline that process and to take the cost cuts.
I almost never say this at this meeting, I have a bunch of costs. We need costs.
We need cops, so that's why we're trying to find that sweet spot of opening up to as many people as possible without opening it up so much that it becomes a real problem.
Maybe quicker town found a sweet spot.
I understand the desperate times call for desperate measures, but the flip side of that is, the worst thing that can happen here is we think we get a good cop, and then someone else sues based off us not following the legal process, and we end up with nobody, that's even worse.
So again, and I did not forward that off to Frank either, so I'll do that tomorrow morning. We have another civil service, meeting, hopefully proposed for Thursday.
And if Frank says you can't do it,
Yeah,
we'll bring it up
we'll
again.
look into it again and get an official answer on it. I mean, if we could do something that simple, would be pretty fantastic, but, I'll get a definitive answer for it.
We are looking at several different things that we've been discussing. We have a couple of extremely well-experienced retired police officers that would be willing to come on board, providing that we could get the MOU from the union. So Reagan's looking into that.
They'll help fill some shifts, but they're not gonna help replace those bodies.
They're not gonna replace the bodies, but it may be a temporary bridge to cover some of these shifts here.
Whatever we gotta do.
And these are guys that have 20-plus year law enforcement careers. One of them was actually part of our emergency program where we put on several years ago when we had a problem.
It was called provision.
Provisional, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Provisionals are essentially, we can hire them outright, and we don't have to do any form of testing until after they're hired. And we change the civil service rules to where we have a version of a part-time officer that's not promotion eligible, that you just test them first. So, we have the mechanism in place to make those type hires. It's just a matter of we would test them prior to them coming in and putting on a uniform, then just green lighting them and then hoping for the best, and 3 weeks later, finding out that they couldn't pass any exams. So.
But as far as these two potential part-timers go, one is still carrying his MOPEC certification, and another one will only need to do like 150 question thing online to have his reactivated. So that may be an immediate scenario.
Okay, speaking as the Civil Service Commission person, if you have suggestions for us, come to the Civil Service Commission meeting, they're public, we advertise it in the paper. We're wrestling with this stuff, we're trying to come up with ways that we can do things that are legal and
Cut some of the red tape.
yeah, cut some of the red tape, and we also don't wanna put 18-year-old yahoos with a gun on their hip out on the street. No, that's worse than not having a cop, so,
No offense to the 18-year-olds.
yeah. I said yahoo, and they can be 18 and not be a yahoo, but, you know, we're trying to do things in a way that protects the borough and gives us what we need.
I was at a conference with the chief from Quakertown back in September, and he stood up to the room and said, you know, here's what we do. And then we got to the conference, he sent me the civil service regulations, which I sent to Ray. It was a regulation that the chief and the borough manager can hire, I mean, council hires, but chief borough manager identify the candidate who's allowed to candidate. Go to the department with whatever years of experience instead of things like the 1 year experience, but, you know, good standing, and they hire them. And that's the end of the day, that's the end of the day.
The only thing I can think of is maybe there's a loophole that if they've gone through civil service, that we
I asked that, because they're surrounded by townships down there, a lot of townships don't do civil service, I said, what happens then?
It just feels,
And that's what worries me,
make that work.
it forgoes the written, forgoes the written and the physical agility, I mean, everything that is.
Literally puts them on the street as soon as council hires.
All of those things are enumerated right in Title 8 of that we're supposed to do.
I'm not aware.
So, I'll check again, and I will put it to Frank, so we can know for sure.
No, I'm good.
Good. Jerry? Jay? ordinances and resolutions. Item number 8, resolution 2025-06, setting the 2026 millage rate for taxes in the borough.
So because we're not raising taxes, we're assuming that we pass that item here in a little while with the budget, no increased taxes, you don't need an ordinance, just a resolution to keep the tax rate flat. That's what this resolution does, it keeps the tax rate flat from 2025 to 2026.
Any questions? Entertain a motion?
Motion.
Okay, Nelson, after shaking his head before, that's not. Okay, Jay's second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. It passes. Item 9, consent agenda. We have a few items on the consent agenda again.
We only had 2 for you last time, so I just kind of beef it up a little bit.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Remember, Jay had corrections on it?
Well,
Yeah.
sorry, I thought you meant Jay.
No, not Jay, no, J, A, B, C, D.
It took a second for that to click, but yes, item J has with noted correction that we talked about at the beginning of the meeting.
Anybody have any questions?
Brandon, so with B and L, Scott and Brandon, goes from Buzz County and Phil, so we're not at 16 officers anymore, right? We're down to possibly 10 with the.
Yeah, our working numbers right now, so 16 is full staff, that we're accepting, the 2 items on here. That puts us down 4 retirees, 2 then out on workers' comp, so yeah, we are effectively functioning at 10 right now.
And they're on all different shifts, they're not on one shift. Okay. Just want to clarify something.
Any other questions? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. I have a motion from Tom. Do I have a second? From Jerry. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. It passes. Item 10, new business. Consider and take action to accept the draft contract format for academy cadets, setting a weekly stipend rate of, and it was suggested $20, right? It was so far as been
That was our
suggested.
suggestion, from Chief Rafferty and I. Obviously, council, that is something that you are welcome to amend. Again, it was effectively $15 an hour 14 years ago. The last time we did this, once you factored in the base stipend, plus the gas stipend, plus the meal stipend, doing it this way, it will also allow us to get these cadets into the department, to start learning the ins and outs of how we're doing things here when they're having some lighter classes those weeks. So I think it sets up well to have these 2 guys that, like, yes, it will take a little while till they're ready to be on the street, but once we get them out of the academy, we'll have them that much closer and that much ready to roll. And I really do think that, over the next 2 action items are gonna have to be really great candidates, so I'm excited to get them brought in. So I would, yes, recommend 20, and I think I speak for Raven as
I
well.
should say, that was 20 an hour, so this is written as setting a weekly stipend rate, puts it at $800.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, $800 per week.
I was thinking 20 was a good deal.
Yeah, 20's a good deal.
I forgot, yeah.
Now, are we picking up medical for these kids?
No, they will not have medical until they are hired as an officer here.
So the intention is, yeah, the 800 per week, we stripped out, there was a whole lot of different clauses for a stipend for gas, a stipend for meal, and all these different things, and that's what.
Included in that?
So this would now just, all that's been removed from the
Okay.
contract, it is just 800 per week, essentially the other kind of consumables that they're using while they're there, be it gear and equipment, things, that's just
That's
work.
on them.
No, we have it written as that, that's on us, so their initial uniforms that they get, any other things that they don't need while they're there, their food, all that, that's all them. Mileage, or if available, it will look to see depending on where they're going to the academy, living arrangements, if they're gonna take one of our cars, we're trying to make it as easy as possible.
Any additional questions? Somebody wanna make a motion and specify the rate?
I'll make a motion, 800 a week.
Okay, I have a motion for 800 a week on the floor. Do I have a second? Okay, Teresa, second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. It passes. Okay, consider and take action to approve conditional offer of employment to,
So, at this point here, generally speaking, we would offer a certified list of 3 candidates who made it through the civil service process. Only 2 of the candidates made it through the civil service process. We started with 7, which tells you that, you know, why it's tough to get to this process. So, I like a certified list of 2. Candidate number 1 is Kurt Rauch. That's Kurtrauch. Candidate number 2 is James Dalton. Kurt Rauch does have veterans preference, Mr. Dalton does not. So with that being the case, Mr. Rauch should be the first individual offered the conditional offer of employment for sponsored Academy Cadet employment.
I have a motion on the floor, do I have a second? Second by Jerry. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It passes. Item 3, consider and take action to approve conditional offer of employment to, what was his first name?
It's James Dalton, and again,
James.
normally here I would give you a brand new list of 3 where I would, replace number 1 with number 4, but we only had 2 to begin with, so our list of 3 is 1 name, which is James Dalton. That is who we would recommend, and again, if I'm speaking incorrectly for you, Greg, please stop me, but I think we both are excited about both these
No,
guys
both.
as being
I
solid
would say, when it
citizens.
comes to Kurt actually has a master's in operational safety and 2 bachelor's degrees. He's, military vet, seems very squared away. James Dalton is a Columbia County Sheriff right now. He's on the SWAT team. I'm cautiously optimistic. We have
Is there like
2.
an accelerated learning program for this academy?
I wish. What's lucky about it, what I can say is that Mr. Dalton had already wanted to go to the academy, so he started their onboarding process before even starting our hiring process. So we say yes right now. He starts in January. That's why we're getting him wanted so quickly, is because he's already ready to go.
Okay, Mr. Learn?
I'll second.
And we have a second from Ms. Triani. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Consider and take action to appoint someone to a 5-year term on the Berwick Area Joint Sewer Authority Board, beginning January 1st, 2026.
So you were received letters of interest from 4 individuals. You all received those 4 letters of interest last Wednesday when I sent things out. I know Mr. Kishbaugh is here. I know Mr. Gartner, unless he's stuck in, is not here. Did he sneak in? No, what? Okay. This thing really is tall. Never mind that. So Dominic is here. Okay, and I'm not.
Sir, the 4th was Dan Elliott.
Dan Elliott, and you're here.
Yes.
So, and I had said that I don't know if council will have any questions for anybody at this point before making a decision. So I asked them to be here in case there were any questions. It is ultimately up to the 6 of you here to decide what, if anything, you want to do with this at this point.
Does anybody want to ask any of the candidates any questions? You've had their applications, their letters.
Who's being replaced?
So, at this point, I don't know if replace is the correct word.
Who's up
because
for re-election?
Mr. Kishbaugh, who is here, is up for a new term potentially, or that is the would-be vacancy.
Let me speak for some on council, not all of council. Some on council have been concerned that, and not necessarily Mr. Fishbaugh, that the board of the Joint Sewer Authority has not always, at least the members of the Berwick part of it, have not always represented the people of Berwick. They've been more protective of the board and the sewer authority than they have been for the people of Berwick. And that has been a concern on and off, not in every situation. So that's kind of why we went this way. So we've got your letters, and yes, sir.
I would like to address that, please.
Sure.
members of residence there. I'm here to say that decisions have to be made. When I make decisions as a operator of 30 years, that you have to make decisions to keep the plant running efficiently, and of most important is the safety of the employees. That is paramount. Paramount to any of my decisions is safety of the employees and the efficiency of the plant. So if anybody has a question whether I'm not representing the borough, please, I'm here to answer anything you would like to ask.
Mr. Hirschbach, when we were presented with, the choice to reappoint you, was it last meeting? I had initially asked to advertise for it, not because I was questioning your ability or your, representation of the borough, but only because they were asking us to appoint someone when I had no idea about you, or, you know, it's like asking a random person, for me to say somebody, you know, and I had no idea about you or had an opportunity to ask anybody about your job performance or what you had done. So I hope you didn't take it personally offensive that we chose to do some research and look at this. It wasn't necessarily, from my perspective, that, just I wanted an opportunity to make an informed decision.
That's great.
Thank you.
I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? No.
Okay, one other thing. I foresee challenging times coming for this area. We all know what's up there in Salem Township moving in. There's challenging times coming. But let me clear one thing up. We do not have a capacity problem at the sewer plant. We do not have a capacity problem. I brought it up because when you're in the wastewater industry, you do not have the luxury of sitting back and waiting for things to happen. You've got to have a 5-10-year plan for what you're going to do. What's the life expectancy of an average sewage plant? Let me answer that. 40 to 50 years is the life expectancy. What's the life expectancy of equipment? 10 to 20 years. Since I have been on the board, we have spent a large sum of money renovating equipment and the infrastructure of that plant. You can only put a patch on a patch for so long. So that's why regardless if I'm reinstated or not, it's just something to think about. You're not gonna have the luxury to wait till the last minute. Something's gonna have to be done. And that's where good planning comes into effect. Okay? Any questions? If not, I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions for any of the other applicants? Any of the applicants want to say anything to us? Okay. Then I'll call for a motion. I don't know how stupid it is for.
I mean, if we just go for a motion. So, I think you should open it up to nominations and see, if one gets nominated.
All right, we'll do that. We'll do the nomination round. That makes sense to me. Okay, then, council, I'll open the floor for nominations for the candidates. Somebody make a nomination for.
I nominate Mr. Fishball.
Okay, we have a nomination. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any other nominations? Okay, we have a Dominic Bianchi as a nomination. Do I have a second for that? Okay, not hearing a second. I paused a little bit there, entertainment, but, not hearing a second, then the nomination, fails without a second. Any additional nominations? close nominations.
Comment?
Nelson, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Tom? Okay, all those in favor of Mr. Kishbaugh?
This would be closing nominations. You're gonna close nominations and then go through and vote Mr. Kishbaugh.
We just
You're gonna make a
close.
motion to,
Okay, well, then you don't need a motion to hire Mr. Kishbaugh, then you can't, if you don't wanna do close with a motion, yeah, okay, that's closed. But you still need a motion now to appoint
Okay.
Mr. Kishbaugh.
Do the second one.
Yeah,
About every 5 years then. Oh. So you need a
okay,
motion.
need a motion to proceed to a vote for Mr. Kishbaugh?
motion.
Okay, motion by Tom, do I have a second? Second by Teresa. All those in favor of electing Mr. Kishbaugh for another 5-year term signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Mr. Kishbaugh, you're reappointed.
Okay, thank you, Joe, and ladies.
Okay, number 5, consider and take action to approve the Borough of Berwick 2026 municipal budget. Okay, I have a motion by Jay, a second by Teresa. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, it's approved. Consider and take action to set and advertise the 2026 Borough Berwick Council meeting schedule as follows.
So I did send out the list of dates, with a couple notes on some of them. There has been conversation or from a couple of you, the idea of making the first meeting of the month and as needed, whereas the one on the third Monday would be more automatic. That is ultimately up to you if you want to go that route. I can certainly advertise it that way. We do have a couple of holidays in there, but it's really up to, I'm assuming to
There's
some.
been a few meetings where we really haven't had a whole lot.
There certainly are, and it's one of those things too
Now,
where.
if there's a meeting where you have, I don't know, 3 pages of agenda, yeah, we need to have that meeting. But if you advertise it as needed, it takes care of Labor Day, it takes care of
It takes care of Labor Day, it takes care of Easter Monday, it takes care of in March when we're gonna have some any issues.
And if you need to have them, you need to have them, they're advertised.
The only thing I would, question would be, January 19th.
You need to have that.
Well, that one's closed, the offices are not open because of Martin Luther King Day. So do you want to move it, do you want to just definitely have February 2nd?
I can't tell the difference between workshops and meetings anymore.
So
They're exactly
There
the
was,
same.
there was a time when the state allowed the idea of a workshop being different, but this time, we can call it a workshop all we want, but it's a public meeting, and we have to advertise it, we have to share the agenda if we're having it.
Yeah.
There is no real difference other than tradition of calling one workshop.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where if we have to advertise and we're gonna be here anyway, why would I hold off on putting something up for vote for 2 more weeks if we're gonna be here? Now, that being said, there've been plenty of times when, on the first Monday of the month, there is nothing urgent. For instance, when I'm working with CDG stuff, we have to make sure that we set up all public hearings, advertise later in the month, just so we're not, but generally speaking, I'm gonna say at least half the time, there wouldn't necessarily be a reason for the first Monday of the month meeting. But it's also nice to have it there because sometimes things do come up somewhat urgently. And I know we talked about how you can't have a difference, and I'm always open, if someone tells me to stop putting things on the
Yeah,
agenda.
when it's labeled
I will too,
workshop,
but-
you think this is an opportunity to discuss things before you actually voted them in the actual meeting, but they're just both actual meetings, so it's.
I haven't called it workshop in ages.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's up to you what you, and I mean, I'm also fine with, if we have the meeting on the 19th, that is perfectly fine, I'll come in, we'll do it. I just wanna make sure everyone's aware, that is, it is an observed holiday.
I think we should make the first meeting of the month an optional one, I mean, with the full awareness that more than likely we'll always need it, but on those occasions that we don't.
I don't think I think probably it's gonna end up being about 50-50 if I'm being honest with you.
That'd be great.
I will say right now, just so there's no lack of clarity on this, we need to have the first one in January, because that's what the state says we have to reorganization, so. So then I guess with the, whether or not to have it, I will make every effort to make a call on that by maybe the Wednesday before, based on where the agenda's gonna be, so that way we can do a decent job of getting the word out to you, but also, you know, Facebook and website and whatnot, and maybe even the Tuesday before, so you can get Susan in our Front Street meet if we're not having it, we can talk with her about that.
Sounds reasonable.
So I guess, the dates provided minus September 7th, that is Labor Day, with the caveat that other than January 5th, all first Mondays would be as an as-needed basis. Does that work?
The only concern I have is the public gonna be aware of when there's a meeting on the first? That's.
So what I can do, I can, again, I can Facebook it, I can put a website, I can put on on the main page of the website, but then also on the link to the meeting agenda. You know, there will be no meeting on March 2nd, 2026, due to lack of business. I can put it on the door as well, because it shows up, and if I can get it in time, I can get it to Susan to see if we can get it into Front Street Meet. Like if I can make a call by, say, that Tuesday before. It's tight sometimes, but,
Okay, because I don't wanna violate sunshine law, I don't wanna
Once
violate.
it's advertised, you don't have to advertise it not to happen.
No, I understand, but we have to advertise, we do it once a year, and these are all the dates.
Yep.
Yeah, but if we're not,
We
are they
can-
optional, so do
Well,
we
if
have
you
to,
put-
do
if
we
you
have
put
to
as needed-
re-advertise?
Well, no, you don't. If you put as needed, but even if you didn't, like, if you cancel me, you don't have to
yeah,
advertise.
the assumption.
It's just common courtesy to do so.
Yeah, I don't wanna
Not
confuse,
necessarily
The assumption,
you know,
the
I don't
assumption,
want people, the public, to come to us and say, I didn't know you were having a meeting this month, you know,
Well, but if it's in Front Street Beat, if it's on Facebook, if it's on the website, you know, it's up to them to inform themselves, it's all.
Okay, well, I understand that, but some people don't.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I have had some people call and want to know why we let people know something was happening. I say, well, it was in the paper, on our Facebook and on our website, and I don't get the paper, I don't go on Facebook, I'm not looking at the internet, and
Well.
what did you want me to do? I mean, I literally had
Call them
one,
personally. Call them personally.
when we made the big change to recycling, we literally went door to door with flyers for people, and still had people calling in that they didn't understand what was going on with their recycling change, so I'm trying the best I can, but I'll never get it 100%. So I'm saying, list provided minus Labor Day with first Mondays on an as-needed basis.
Any additional questions or discussion? I'll entertain a motion. Okay, Mr. Larry, second. Anybody? Sure. Okay, Ms. Tran? Okay, got it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of advertising the meeting schedule as discussed, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, it goes. Number 7. Consider and take action to grant temporary emergency zoning approval to the property at 325 South Mercer Street, Berwick, to serve as a Code Blue drop-in center through December 18th, 2025, and to authorize granting of a temporary certificate of occupancy for the same, with stipulations as follows.
I'd like to discuss, I mean, obviously, I'd like to discuss this. So, I think given the organization last year, with the Code Blue shelter, if I would have been approached in a timely manner and shown that there was the information that we had, the upgrades weren't made, right, that needed to be made, there wasn't an effort or of organization, and definitely the lack of transparency I would have proceeded with trepidation with any of this. Knowing that there is a group of people that it seems like, once they learned this information, did their best effort and made a lot of progress in a short amount of time, I think shows a lot of good faith, that they'll proceed to be transparent with us and communicate with us and try to coordinate. I think this is one of those instances where I have to separate and compartmentalize my hesitation from what happened last year with the better interest of helping people, which is what we wanna do. So what we have is an organization that's not gonna cost us money, It's not gonna cost us tax dollars. There's a venue that's willing to do it for us, right? So it's literally not costing us and we don't have to put any work into it. And they wanna help people. So, in my opinion, everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. We have a group of people that want to be villagers, and it's my opinion that who am I to stand in their way? So as long as we're not breaking any of our laws or codes to say yes to this, why would I stand in the way of people trying to help people, right?
We are breaking, we're breaking our zoning law. We did it last year.
And that's the thing, we set a precedent last year, didn't we?
But when we set that precedent, Teresa, we said, we're not gonna do it again. And to call this an emergency, I have a problem with that, because here's the thing, Agape set up as Code Blue, and there's allegedly transportation from Berwick to Williamsburg, number one. The all-night soup kitchen is set up, these folks can get off the street somewhere warm, that's already going on. And the zoning hearing is on the 18th, so we said we're gonna do it once. And listen, if there were people with no other options but to stay in the tent, in the test track,
right,
I guess maybe I'd say, you know what, and just for the record, I was a proponent of what happened last year.
right.
But I'm also a proponent of sticking to what I said, and I said it's once. And again, there's other options, including the soup kitchen that's going on right now. So that's my, and here's the other thing, Teresa. The zoning hearing set up, we have a zoning hearing board for a reason. For council 18, 17 days before to do this again, if I'm on the zoning hearing board, I say, what am I supposed to do? You know, we're superseding their area again. Last year it didn't go to zoning hearing, so that's different. We granted the amendment. This year, the hearing has been scheduled. These good people who volunteered to be on our zoning hearing board are gonna hold a hearing. If we grant the emergency again, why even have a hearing?
Why even have a zoning board?
Well, I guess when we say it's an emergency, like I'm thinking of the weather tomorrow, right. And when we're saying it's an emergency, it's a temporary thing, right? So why have a zoning hearing? Well, having a zoning hearing would give people, like the neighbors, an opportunity to have, to speak or to attend that meeting, or, right. So the, what we say doesn't necessarily negate the zoning hearing.
It doesn't negate the hearing, but it kind of negates the purpose of it.
Right, but did they mean say if we grant it tonight, those letters don't go out, the zoning is done?
No, what I said.
It became permanent.
They do.
Oh.
I said if you declare it a permanent, or at least for the season, if you negate the need for the hearing. If the motion as written, which was, just to be clear, I mean, we had a request to have this on the agenda. I had to kind of guess a little bit exactly how to word for the agenda. But the sample motion as written would be to grant the emergency status only through the 18th, which is the date of the hearing, which would then, so it would end on the hearing day and be up to the zoning hearing board whether to make it permanent.
And the bad thing about that is you're telling the zoning board that council opposed it.
What did we do last year though? What did we do last
Overrode
year?
the zoning board, which we
Exactly.
shouldn't have done.
It never went that far. Council granted an emergency, and we said, okay, from whatever the date was until March, whatever, and then we're gonna move it sooner. We totally overrode something, we didn't send it there. But when we did that, we specifically instructed the folks, whether they're the same folks or different folks, it was public information that we weren't gonna do it again. That they have to go through the process. And here, just forget about Agape 10 miles away or whatever. The all-night soup kitchen negates the emergency. There's a place for these folks to go off the street when the weather's bad, off the street when it's cold.
Right.
It's already set up, so where's the emergency?
Last year, people were living in tents, they were living however they were living, and there was no place for them to go. I mean, they could have gotten transportation, maybe to Williamsburg if they were aware of it or it was available. We needed to do something to protect the lives of these people because they could freeze to death. It was getting really cold really fast, and it was an emergency because there was nothing available other than next town down, if that. So we did it as an emergency because we had to. Should we have done it differently? Maybe we should have. Maybe hindsight's 20/20, but, we said at the first meeting, when they first came to us about the emergency, we said this is a one-time deal. I know Jay said it, I said it, Damien said it, maybe most of us said it. We repeated it a couple times during the year, and at the final meeting, we said, you guys have months to come up with a plan to do this permanently.
Right.
And it wasn't done. It's not our fault that it wasn't done.
Right, and I guess I'm trying to separate my disdain for what happened last year with a different entity, and I know that Tracy was a part of last year, but from my understanding and my conversation with her was that maybe things weren't as transparent with what was pending with the approval for this year's opening. So it's a very difficult, like, I think we're all experiencing this same, like, discomfort and wanting to help people, but also not wanting to go back on our word, and I don't know the right answer here.
Well,
I do know that there's people that were disapproving of the all-night soup kitchen, that were like outright trying to shut that down. Like, okay, is it a loophole? Sure, it's a loophole, but it's a loophole that's keeping people warm, so why would I try to
And it's not
make
violating our ordinance.
Right, and as far as like the LCD laws or whatever, I don't work for the LCD, I work for the people of Berwick. So like, I don't care, quite frankly, so I'm very torn in this. I'm not proceeding without, like, this makes me uncomfortable, and I think it makes everybody here uncomfortable.
Quite frankly, if the zoning board turns them down.
Right.
Okay, and says you can't get approval for a shelter, okay, they can still run their overnight soup kitchen.
Right.
Because the facility's licensed for events, okay, soup kitchens and events, and as long as they don't pull up cots and go to sleep, I mean, you wanna put your head down on the table and take a snooze,
Right.
That's no different than somebody in a restaurant falling asleep while they're eating their soup. You know, it's the same thing.
I've never been to a codes meeting, so I don't know what exactly would be a reasoning why they would say no.
I don't know why, I'm not, that's why we're not.
It's not a part of the board.
Yeah.
So with a variance, you essentially would be tasked with proving that, there's an undue hardship that for the organization to be able to exist, and then it's a very, very strict bar that actually our board typically doesn't enforce as strict of a bar as they should for that. But for the special exception, essentially, it's because we don't allow it by right anywhere in our zoning ordinance, that's why it's only a special exception. So they would essentially have to, I'm gonna dumb it down a little bit here, but essentially prove that it's not adversely impacting the culture of the neighborhood. That it's a, list of things, but if you whittle it down to one sentence of what the argument has to be, that's what it is for a special exception. They have to prove that they're not going to negatively impact the existing neighborhood.
So if it goes to the code, to the codes for the meeting, and they say it's okay, right, then does it have to come back to us for approval?
At that point, that location would be allowable for this, into perpetuity.
Okay, so let's say.
Just that location. to be
Let's
clear.
say, for instance, like, keeping into consideration the concerns of the neighbors, because obviously, I mean, we can't foresee what's gonna happen. Let's say there's a bad culture that develops there, right? Is it in our purview to say you can't do that anymore? Is that it? How does that work? Or would it have to be a code's decision to shut it down?
So I think that, one thing that zoning can do is they can just put in stipulations. So, I suppose they could put in a fail-safe of sorts where, if something goes wrong where there were issues, it would grant a means to pull the plug. That's not a normal thing, but they do have pretty broad latitude to set stipulations. Those stipulations are usually more things like, what hours can they be open and how much noise can they make, or in this case, maybe what the temperature requirements could be to be. But I suppose they could either put it to themselves to re-examine this on a yearly basis, or put it to council the ability to pull the plug on it if need be. I would definitely want, if that's gonna happen, I would wanna make sure that the zoning solicitor gives blessing for any of that, and, that it doesn't, nothing like that should be put in there lightly. And I don't know if the zoning hearing board would have any I don't know if they would want to do that or not, but I guess they could. If that was if council wanted to make sure something like that existed, I would say that somebody on council's behalf should definitely be at that meeting with that recommendation from council, whether that's me or one or more of you, anybody come to a zoning hearing with concerns. So if somebody from council wanted to come and say, hey, I'm worried that there's a chance that this could go wrong in the future, maybe I want you to grant this special exception, but I also want an ability to say no more if things get bad. It would be worth being there to spell that out and ask they consider that my part of whatever their final decision is. Do I answer your question?
Yes.
Or was rambling?
No, I understand, thank you.
Any additional discussion?
Teresa, last thing I want to say, I hope zoning improves this.
I do too.
I hope they do, and I hope if they do, I hope it's run correctly. But at this point, I'm not willing to overstep what I'm hearing like we did last year.
Right, and I don't think that there's anything stopping, like, the zoning hearing would still happen. They would still have their opportunity to speak out, and the zoning board would still have the opportunity to say no in the event that voice were louder than the need. So, I don't know, that's my 2 cents. I understand that everybody doesn't share the same perspective, I'm just trying to keep everybody's.
No further discussion? Then, I'll entertain a motion. If there isn't one, then it will die.
I'm gonna motion knowing that I'll probably not get a second.
So just to be clear with your motion, are you putting any stipulations on your motion, that you can leave that open-ended there? Generally speaking, we'd be looking, hours and or temperature are the 2 big things. I think last year they was pretty much said, Agape, you've done this, just, use your-
Sure, I guess I would specify, I don't know what the temperature restrictions or hours restrictions were that we.
Follow Agape's rules.
Whatever Agape's rules were last year, I would propose.
So follow the same restrictions put in place last year?
Yes. And obviously, this is pending the zoning hearing.
Can actually say last season, just because technically it was this year. If that's okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Not hearing a second. Motion dies.
I'll make a motion to table it until the results of the.
No, we don't,
Okay.
once the zoning board rules, then it's out of our hands. It would come back to us if it would be appealed somehow. Okay,
So nobody else voted yes.
all right, moving on, there are no added items. Any of you want to address us on any item whatsoever? Anything that's on your mind that you want us to look at, anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, Don, okay.
Don Smith, 1738 Spring Garden Avenue. I just wanna start by saying I did go to Coates today again to find out exactly the situation with the rats across the street. Kurt and Craig was not there today. They were off, so I couldn't get no information where they were. Last Monday, the company that owns the mobile home park had a maintenance guy there walking around the 1800 building, the little white building. And I talked to him a little bit on the street. He was a nice guy. He gave me a phone number and. But there's not one trap in that area. According to what Coach said, that was one of the areas. I disagree with it. There's not one trap. July, there was rats. I got pictures. Week before Halloween, I I got the rat on the road and killed it. I got pictures of me doing it off my video. The company that owns the mobile home park has not put a trap where they saying is the problem. I happened to be in McDonald's today, and one of the tenants in the mobile home park come in and sit down by us, and we were blah, 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 talking. Thursday morning, he come home from work, seen a rat, Thursday morning. I didn't know rats were out when it was cold, but he seen one Thursday morning scurry back alongside of his mobile home. They're there, they're there. In July, I got a citation. They gave me 2 weeks to correct it with a $300 fine. This has been going on since July. Is not rats a health issue? My blocks were a health issue. Somebody could have tripped over a block with a 4-foot stake painted white. And I've been responsible. But these rats can go on since July, and the landowner is not responsible and not doing a dang thing. Now, I can't tell you if something was said this week, because, like I said, both the individuals was out today, and Kurt Craig Harkins is taking care of most of it, so Kurt refers me to Craig on the phone, both times he did. And I understand that, that makes sense to me. But why? Why? They don't care.
We'll check to see that letters have been sent to the owners to see if they've been told they need to set up traps. And if not, we'll send the letters, and if we have sent the letters, we'll send follow-up and take additional action if necessary. Is that okay?
But I'm finding out that it's not just that. 1800, which is, we call the shack, we have nicknames, it's called the shack. And it's just not there. It's through the whole thing.
Okay. We know there's big boxes out by Family Dollar, so, you know,
Yeah.
there's rats in the area. So we'll.
You know, that's the reason I was asking about that earlier, and the question, and about, that's, you know, not specifically rats, but just firmness.
Okay. All right.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Somebody else had their hand? Okay.
I just wanna say thank you, Teresa, for speaking out. I know that takes courage. One thing I wanna clarify though about the soup kitchen is we don't have, because it's just a soup kitchen, they're not required to stay with us all night like they would be Code Blue right now. So you do have them coming and going as they please. You don't have that regulation that you would have the comfort of a Code Blue shelter. So.
Yeah, but this is America, they can come and go.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just a pointing out the difference of what gives the community around us comfort is not there right now. And in addition to that, none of our clients are in Bloomsburg. Some for a multitude of reasons, whether it be jobs, whether it be visitation with their children. One, we have school-age children that won't leave the area for that. And also because this is their community. Last year, we did take Bloomsburg residents to us at the end when Bloomsburg's Code Blue shelter closed early. We did have those with us here in Berwick. This year, we're not forcing our clients to go outside. If we don't want to take people from outside of our community, why would we shove our community outside of ours? That's just backwards. We wouldn't want, if you're saying that you don't want that to happen to ours, to take people outside of our area, why would we do that with our people? I mean, that is, yes, an option for safety.
In an emergency, that's what I was saying, emergency. You had said something at the last meeting.
Correct. For an emergency. Yes, but also giving them the soup kitchen option is literally to save their lives.
You're getting them off the street.
It
That's
is.
my point.
They're not
And
sleeping.
when you go to zoning and you have an opportunity to testify, and I hope you do.
Yeah.
Because I was being serious, and I hope you get this.
I believe you,
really
I
do.
believe you.
But here's what I'm gonna tell you, what you just said about the neighborhood safety, you know, that they can come, tell the zoning area.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the kind of stuff they need to know.
Yeah, and I appreciate your take on it, I really do. I think it's unfortunate that I feel, and not for all of you, but for some of you, that it's a pride issue of what had happened last year versus the safety of our community this year,
So,
and that's unfortunate.
And let me speak to that just a minute. So what happened last year, I think overall was a pretty good thing.
It served its purpose, it did.
And it did, and as
Yeah.
far as I know, there was no serious incidents, and good for everybody who was involved. But we broke the law here last year. We as a council broke our own zoning law and allowed that, and we did it because it was truly an emergency at that time.
Right.
But we said to everyone, it was,
I don't believe we're asking you to break the law. What we're asking you to do is allow. We are asking you to make a special occupancy or whatever, I'm sorry, I don't know the correct term for it, that is allowed.
it's a special exception, which needs to be
Right.
allowed by the zoning hearing board, not borough council. We're not the zoning hearing board.
There
Last
is an
year-
allowance though for you guys to make to
Last-
allow this to
and
happen,
we- right,
and
and
you're
we did it-
choosing
and
not
we
to,
did-
and I
but
respect
we did
that.
it last year, but
Mhm.
we said this is one time, go before zoning, do it the right way.
Right.
And I said the same thing last year, I hope you get it.
Right.
I hoped you got it last year, but nobody ever did. And I'm not blaming you, I'm not blaming Frank, I'm not
Right.
blaming Carla, it's nobody's fault.
It's the way it turned out.
It
I
just turned
understand.
out that way.
I understand.
But then all of a sudden, here we are again,
Mhm.
and it's an emergency again.
Mhm.
And I'm not prepared to grant it this time.
I understand that. Like I said, to
But I
us,
wish you
this
luck
is-
at the zoning hearing.
I appreciate that.
And if I'm available, I have it on my calendar. If I don't have
Thank
another
you.
meeting, I'm gonna try to be there.
Thank you.
I'd like to correct one fact there.
But Frank, I was just talking nice about you.
I know, and I'm not, like I said, I actually support the idea of the code blue. But I'll tell you for a fact, I have Berwick people in Bloomsburg.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the police brought us one the other week.
All right. You guys, listen, you guys should all work together.
Yes, we should. I don't like that. My only concern, as I said, was the case management part.
Yeah.
So, and variances versus special exemption.
Just to
I
be
do
clear,
have
your building, maybe, the wrong term may have been used at some point, but your building would have been a special exception as well. Anywhere in Berwick trying to do a code blue would be a special exception.
Because it's not.
And I am doing what council has asked, out of my own pocket. I had an architect, everything's designed, prints are done finally, and it will be coming to, I'll probably file with zoning within a week or two. It's just,
And I hope you
Slowly.
get your special exception too.
and I'm looking at something much larger though, than just a code blue shelter. So, I'm looking at something, one thing in my job I took on, I'm learning a lot of what this community needs, and I'm seeing a lot of the voids. I'm talking to a lot of people that, it's just, some stories are unbelievable, but I am seeing what is needed here. And I wanna bring a full social service network to Berwick. That's my goal,
Good luck.
so.
We need it.
It does, we do.
Thank you.
Alright.
Okay, I am Draven Herring and I live on Iron Street. Okay, first, I would like to start this off by saying, being unhoused is no crime. In addition, exploiting one's dreadful circumstances for self-gain will always remain morally unjust. Home of the brave and land of the free. Are the unhoused free of criticism? For as long as Councilmember Mokia is present, no, never. Are the unhoused free of anti-camping ordinances? No. From calling the unhoused strays and addiction a cancer, but yet giving no cure or at least some time to help. Councilmember Mokia, thank you for such an abhorrent feedback. I'll let council know. Oh wait, aren't you on that? The American dream is an embedded self-liberty gifted and generously passed down by our founders, and yet you defy such sacred words by passing anti-camping ordinances. Have you ever stopped to think if such abhorrent text written down is even just as being called as an American? Have you ever thought of the unhoused American dream? The dream to just have a shelter warm where you can actually sleep, not on a table. Well, we offer that, and we hope you actually change that. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
No, I have a question, everyone go.
Well, I still have a motion to adjourn. If I get a second, we're.
Second.
So I'm not allowed to speak then?
Nope. We're
You got
adjourned.
your chance.
We're adjourned.
They didn't ask anybody else.
Yeah.
didn't ask for anybody else after we spoke.
No.
He made a motion to adjourn. He could have done it in the middle of the meeting.
I just wanted to know when the last sexual harassment ethics thing was done, completed from you guys, that's all.
I don't know.
I don't know if you've ever done that. In 2015, it was done, so. Deborah Force.
Before my time.
Oh, I don't think nothing was before your time.
Most of us weren't here then.
Yeah, but you are now. You should be having ethics something. No. I see how this is gonna be. Are we done? All right, that wraps it up for our meeting.